Hello, Tide fans. Welcome to Tide Talk. I'm your host, Sean Taylor. I'm back this week. Got my buddy Jimmy, got my buddy Mo. Guys, thanks for handling the show last week. I appreciate it.
It was our pleasure. We had a great time. This is very soft. It's a new microphone, and it's also a duster.
That's right.
Yeah, it's got some wood on
the props that we get from the guys here, I mean.
It is.
Props that we get.
This is from
Hey, welcome back, Taylor.
Thank you.
Good to have you back, sir.
I appreciate that.
And I'm sure the show will go way better than last week.
Glad to be back. I don't know about that, but we're going to see how it goes. Glad to be back. Glad to be back after a really good win. I mean, talking about being on the ledge last week, and you were back a little bit, and a lot of folks were on the ledge because they weren't sure what was going on.
I wasn't. I was one that
agreed. I said a lot of folks. Okay, I didn't say you. I said a lot of folks.
I had to keep an eye on Jimmy.
Yeah, had to rein him in a little bit.
Yeah, I said I had the feel going into it a few years ago, the Georgia-Alabama game when we went to Athens, except we're at home and everybody expected the other team to surprise us. But no.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, maybe the best first half of football we've seen thus far, without a doubt. Really good first half, both offensively and defensively.
Great.
And I know we'll break that down a little bit. I was just, I think I read that, when the game first started, everybody was like, oh crap, here we go again, because, they first play 15 yards, next play first down, and like, here we go. And then, we bow our necks and get a big stop. Of course, listen, at the end of the day, when you go for it on fourth down 3 times.
I can remember if you went for it on fourth down one time during a game, it was a gamble. I think too many of these coaches are getting too careless with going for it on fourth down, and it eventually catches up with you.
Well, it caught up with Lane Kiffin. I mean, come on, Jimmy. I agree, Maurice. I mean, back in the day when we were coming up, if you went for it on fourth down, it was late in the game and you had to, it was crucial.
Right.
Now it's almost a regular thing.
Lane, post game was talking about that, and I agree to him to an extent where he mentioned the fact that when you're playing a team like Alabama and you're on the road and you're going to give yourself a chance to win that game, you have to take those shots and those gambles. Now, do I agree? I agreed with maybe 1 or 2 of them, because I think it was more than I thought it was like 3 or 4 times he went. But when you're down deep in your territory, no, you don't do it. But I can see where he's trying to get some momentum.
We'll get to you.
Hold your turn. I can see where he's trying to get a little momentum, get his team fired up. And like I said, man, if he converts that fourth down, or maybe those 2 fourth downs, maybe they go and score, and that momentum is completely different.
You know what they say about if, Maurice?
If and buts, candy and nuts.
I'll have a Merry Christmas.
Exactly right. Well, first thing is, last week I didn't have to wait for squat. I spoke when I wanted to. I was the host. Now I got to raise my hand. Calculated risk. Thus, I'm sorry. I know Lane Kiffin probably knows more football.
He calls it analytics. The analytics.
Well, there's also, football's a game of inches. It's also a game of odds. And to continue to go for it, there is nothing wrong with punting on the road, playing defense if you can, and making the other team earn it instead of giving it to them. So I see it all the time. I'm not just picking on Lane Kiffin. I like Lane Kiffin. What's wrong with if he was to go down there to kick the field goal to get the points, and you walk away, you're up on the number 1 team in the country. Now they're having to play catch up.
Yeah. There's so many questions to that, because you're right. Momentum, you're on the road, you're playing the number 1 team in the country. You got to do something different to really, beat them at home. There's so many questions because, again, 3 fourth downs in the first series, the first possession. 3.
Yeah.
And granted, he converts 2 of those. The third one being the most critical.
Did
he not?
I'm sorry?
Did they convert 1?
Yes.
They converted 2.
Oh,
2
okay.
in the first
In the first series.
Oh, yeah, I actually missed part of that drive,
so
that's why. Okay.
the question that I have is, was it because he didn't have confidence in his defense? Again, that's really rhetorical, because we don't know the answer.
I did.
Well,
That's
That's
exactly
how I
what-
calculated. No, I did a prediction on Saturday morning. Yeah, you can follow me. I don't care. But the one stat that jumped out at me is that Ole Miss's defense was ranked 59th in the country coming into our game. They had played Austin Peay, Tulane, and Louisville.
right.
Not exactly offensive juggernauts. And you're 59th? It's going to be a long day for you.
Right.
Well, I absolutely think he was thinking about that. He knew going into that game he wasn't going to be able to stop us from scoring. So, again, why not take those chances?
Yeah, I mean,
What do you have to lose, right?
The game?
Do you keep the momentum if you get the first down? And it's huge because he didn't get it that last time. If you get the first down, do you keep the momentum? Do you potentially score? And you're trying to get 7 instead of 3. He didn't kick the field goal.
Right.
He didn't put us in a chasing mode. So instead, we stop them. We drive down the field and score a touchdown. And now that's that ancillary to what if, but now we've got the momentum and the lead. And now you're playing the number 1 team in the country at home from behind.
On the road in front of over 100,000 people. And I forgot my popcorn. So,
But
That would've
again,
been a really-
he
that
knows
would've been a
field
really good
goals.
I thought it was
Hey,
coming.
He
I'll
knows
be honest.
field goals aren't beating us. So,
it doesn't matter. You make the other team catch up to you. You put the pressure on them. Anytime pressure is added, there's that chance of mistakes that are going to take place.
Of course.
People pressing.
Of course.
So-
You start doing things maybe you normally wouldn't do. And there's so many things just, that we could learn from just that first series. But man, I'll be honest, inside the 10, 4th and 1.
So you're 4th and 1 inside the 10 on the road. You're going to go for it or kick?
On the road, I'm kicking the field goal.
And what about you?
so where are we in the game? Are we
4th and 1,
I know,
inside
but,
the 10.
Is it first quarter, fourth
Sure.
First
quarter?
quarter. First quarter.
First quarter
That scenario.
First quarter probably kick the field goal. Yeah.
Okay.
Try
But
to
that's
take the
just
crowd
me.
out.
Exactly.
Get some points.
3 points, so shut them up, and you got to kick
But
off.
look,
again.
if they don't go for it on that first 4th down and get it, then that just means we get the ball sooner and we score quicker. Instead of scoring 35 in the first half, we may score 50 in the first half because they held the ball a little bit longer.
Well, I'm going to tell you the other thing, Maurice. I thought you were going to ask this question.
going to, but go ahead.
Fourth down inside the 10.
4th down inside the 10.
Do you run that
Do
play?
you run that play? I was going to ask that. No, you don't. Especially against a defensive front. Now, I mean, our as far as rush defense hasn't been what it has been 3 or 4 years ago. However, it's still some big dudes.
It's not Tulane. It's not Louisville.
Exactly.
It's not Austin Peay.
And I got a feeling if our defensive line coach challenges them to at that point, it's you against them, or are you going to let them push you back? Tim Smith made a heck of a play, and Henry To'oTo'o did well on that play as well.
I'm going to say this. Jimmy Cochran's a friend of mine. We know Jimmy, and he's made the comment over and over again. Sometimes it's not the X's and the O's, it's the Jimmys and the Joes.
Right.
And listen, Tim Smith made a football play.
Yeah, he did.
Took on a blocker, shedded the blocker, made a tackle. Now, he did have some help. If you go back and watch, Jordan Battle was in there and wrapped the guy up. But I don't believe he stops the first down if he's by himself.
Right.
Smith ultimately stops the play, but man, he made a football play.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, so I go back to the Jimmys and the Joes part.
And I'll tell you another thing. You did convert 2 4th downs. Now I'm insulting you as a defensive player. You can't stop me.
Right.
I've already done it to you twice. I'm going to go for it again. I've had about enough of this. So then you bow your necks, and that's what happened. And we'll go over that.
Yeah, I mean, again, good football play. 4th and 1, inside their 10. They were challenged. Our guys were, starting to see maybe a little bit of fatigue. I mean, I think it was a 13-play drive, if
Right.
I'm not mistaken.
7-8 minutes, wasn't it?
I mean,
Something like
so something had to happen, and I just thought the kid made a really good football play. I know, as I said, I know we're going to talk about, the defense and the offense a little bit more, but after we come back from the break, I do want to address the Henry To'oTo'o's play. I mean, I'm going to tell you what, I'll be honest, I was questioning this kid, over the past couple of weeks.
Right.
And granted, there's still some things that I'd like to see better. I know we'll talk about it. There's some things I'd like to see us do differently. I'd like to see us tackle in space a little bit better. I'd like to see us wrap up a little bit better. But I thought he played a really good football game. He was around the football a lot. Didn't have as many tackles as I'd like to see, but he made some really key tackles, which ended up being important. So
he played better. Yeah.
We'll come back. We'll talk about a little bit of that. Let's take a quick break, and we're going to give a shout out to our sponsor, Bob Inglis and State Farm, back to sponsoring Tide Talk. So hold your seats, Tide fans. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
Hey, Bob.
What's up, Bob?
Enjoy the good times a little more with the right plan. As your State Farm agent, I am here to help you protect your dreams and loved ones with life insurance. With over 60 years combined State Farm experience, call me or any of my team to find out which options are best for you. Another way, we're here to help life go right.
College football fans and players both want full stadiums this fall. Let's make sure we can safely make this happen by getting vaccinated. Please get your COVID-19 vaccine. We want Bryant-Denny Stadium loud again this coming season. Roll Tide.
All right, welcome back, Tide fans. Getting in a little bit of the defensive side of the ball. We all had a little concern the prior few weeks with the way our defense have played. Concerned about stopping the run. Concerned about penalties and that sort of thing. First half, we looked really, really good.
0 penalties.
Zero penalties. We go back to a little bit more of we're going to challenge you up front with just 4 guys.
Yeah.
I mean, if you watched, we didn't do a whole lot with respect to scheme.
Right.
We just played mano-a-mano, hat on a hat, and I thought we did a really good job defensively. Jimmy, I know you were out in Vegas and trying to watch some of that game and all. But what was your take on the defense first?
It makes me wonder because we have seen glimpses this year of how good the defense can be.
That's right.
And how good this team can be. Again, take the first half, for instance. And so I wonder is, when we get that max effort out of everybody, I mean, again, the product's there. I mean, we see it. And so I just wonder when we get in those second half games or the second half of these games, maybe the effort's not there. I don't know. But yes, defensively in that game, obviously, man, we played our tails off, I felt like. We got after it. Again, I thought we had max effort out of a lot of guys, especially across the defensive front. I thought Mathis had a great game. Of course, you mentioned Tim Smith making the play. Even Byron Young's making plays. So, I thought, that group showed up. Again, were they challenged maybe going into this game? Maybe, maybe we haven't been getting that maxed effort because of these lesser opponents. Maybe we needed this, so-called top 10 team or top 15 team coming into town to kind of light a fire under those guys. I know this, though. If that unit can play like they did in the first half and stop, again, I don't care who they played, they're still arguably one of the better offenses in the country, and shut them down for a half, yeah, I mean, the sky's the limit on what we could do with this year, for sure.
I think that we finally got to see, Maurice, a product of the depth that we have. I think we got to see the benefit of it.
I agree. That was one of the things. Speaking of depth, I don't remember seeing a guy named Max on their effort. It must be a transfer. But I'm sorry, I got to do it at some point.
Yeah.
So I agree, and that's one thing leading into this game that I was getting a little frustrated with. There's not the rotation that we should be seeing as far as keeping players fresh, getting experience. I wish they would do that more. We do it a lot more on defense, especially up front, than we do at any other position. And we'll keep the other players out there the entire game, seems like. But I thought all the players that Jimmy just mentioned up front heck of a game. I think Henry To'oTo'o played a 50-50 game. I mean, can we find any bad things to say about Will Anderson?
I mean,
No, let me answer that for you. No, we can't.
yeah, I don't know that there is anything at this point. I mean, the Joker, you know, if you listen to Nick Saban, he
Listen to
brings
Lane Kiffin.
speed, power. Yeah, I mean, Lane Kiffin says he's the number 1 draft pick, except for the fact that he's just a sophomore.
Right.
You know, but listen, here's the thing. You got to see LeBron Ray get some more reps. And listen, that's what I mean by that depth. We're getting to see a product of that because Fladarian Mathis, Tim Smith, Young, LeBron Ray,
Yes.
you know, DJ Dale. You know, those are all.
That's a good rotation.
Those are
It
all
is a good rotation.
1 and 3 techniques.
Yeah.
You know, those guys are in there and they're battling. You know, and we get to put some fresh guys in there. Well, listen, when you start getting those guys leaning on your offensive lineman, you know,
Right.
every 3 plays, it makes a
adds
huge
up.
difference. Makes a huge
Absolutely.
difference. And finally, LeBron Ray is
Healthy.
getting healthy.
Right, getting there.
You know, Saban said he had one of the best weeks of practice that he's had, that he's finally healthy. And I think you're going to start seeing some bigger things come from him because that Joker, when he first came out, was touted as
He should have, if you remember, his freshman year, I thought he should have played over number 49. I can't remember his name. He plays for the Steelers now. But he was that good to where he could have played in front of a senior. That was the year that we lost to Clemson. in
Yeah.
the championship. I'll think of his name at halftime or the commercial. So I snorted. So anyway, I thought that LeBron Ray is coming along nicely. I want him to keep playing and really in sincerity. Pray that he stays
healthy.
He's had a tough go this whole time.
And we're going to need that group to play like
That's
they did
exactly
this past
what I was about to
Saturday.
say.
If we think we're going to win another national championship this year, as
Right.
good as our offense is playing, and as good as we thought the defense was going to be, that group has got to play like they did this past weekend, at least the first half, for us to have any chance to make a run.
But don't you sense that this team is starting to kind of mold together?
agreed. I mean, you're starting. It's what I said. I think you're starting to see the product of the depth that we've talked about from the very first show.
Right.
You know, that's what we said. Our defense ought to be so good. Our defense ought to be so good. You know, look, we can pick on Jalen Armour-Davis because he was picked on all day long. But at the end of the day, man, when you're out there on an island in front of 100,000 people and that receiver knows where he's going, but you don't, it's difficult. I don't care what my brother says. That Joker ain't never covered anybody except for in law
I
enforcement.
will say this. That is the hardest position because you really have to stay in their hip pocket. And these are elite.
That's exactly right.
It is tough. But as we were talking, and Chris will run this play here where we get a pass interference on Armour Davis, is the fact that, and I keep saying it, you've got to turn your head. I mean, if anything, it doesn't matter in any instance. As former referee, I'll tell you, if you're not turning towards the ball, even if you don't touch me, if you impede my way, the receiver, from getting to the ball, I'm going to flag you. So, and you've got to turn, and we're not turning in a lot of those
So
situations.
didn't we talk about this 4 or 5 years ago?
I'm gonna tell you this.
And is it not? Did we not hear or read where there's some kind of technique
I'm
now
gonna
where
tell
you're
you.
in phase and you kind of anticipate whether it be the eyes or his move, and then you just kind of play through the ball. I think there's something to that.
Your
but-
hands can
I think
go
that was the play right there. Chris, if you can run that back, we'll talk about this. But listen, Chris, if you'll get back to that first part and then pause. Here's the deal, Maurice and Jimmy. Yes, we did talk about this 4 years ago. It's what I've said to my brother over and over again. I'll take the pass interference
Yeah,
as opposed to getting beat for a touchdown.
but you're not beat. That's
right.
just
Most of the time
it.
they're not getting beat. They're there.
It's technique.
But listen, again, guys, we both just said, you're talking about elite athletes who run 4.3, subpar 4.40s, and they know where they're going.
You're owning, and you've got the sideline as another defender. I just want you
Easier
to.
said than done.
I know I couldn't do it for the love of God, but
So watch this right here. Chris, will you take us back to the beginning of that play right there? This is what I mean. So listen, he's on an island right now. He's man-to-man coverage up top.
Yes.
So
Okay, you got him.
But listen, do you think that guy who's starting for the University of Alabama, the #1 team in the country, do you think that, so he did turn his head for a split second, but he felt like he was going to get beat.
After he tackled him.
He felt like he was going to get beat.
If you're going to have your hands on him, that's fine. Now you know that his arm's going up. Just turn. You've got I know it's, but that's what you're coached to do.
Yes, that's right. That's what you're
Well,
taught to do.
that play right there is not exactly what we're talking about. You know, a lot of times we'll get called for pass interference.
This is just one example.
But
But there, yeah, that was obvious. He
interfered with him because he's not turning. It's a panic thing. That if I'm going to get beat and I don't know where the ball is, it's like Sean said, I'm going to get a PI. I'm not going to give up 6 because that's what the coach to do. Go ahead and tackle the guy, but don't give up the touchdown. So
well, and to your point, yes, it is a technique. And I'll tell you that we've talked about this for years. A lot of times we are in a face coverage type scenario instead of turning our head. Man, there's so many times where I've seen that exact scenario and the DB turn his head, and as soon as he turns his head, the ball goes right past him to the receiver for a touchdown.
Sure.
So, man, it's a double-edged sword.
It's like I said,
it's a double-edged sword.
It is a tough position to play.
Maybe the toughest.
Exactly.
Maybe the toughest in today's environment.
Absolutely.
Yes. In today's environment, that's for sure. When you got guys that are, as I said, running 4.4, 4.3 40s, and they know where they're going. They know the direction that they're taking. They know when they're about to stop. You do not.
I get it.
And so, I mean, it is hard, but I believe ultimately we have a good group of DBs. I believe you're starting to see Helams is playing a little bit better, way more physical.
He had a great angle the other day.
He had a better. He's played a little bit better the last couple of years.
Playing a lot more physical. I mean, you notice some of the times he's come up and put the helmet on some folks.
I think that was probably brought up in a couple of meetings.
But you know,
Previous
like you're talking about building that depth across the defensive line. I mean, we have a chance to build some depth in the secondary because we have some really
the depth
good.
is there. I'm not saying that they're not good. I'm just saying.
But no, they haven't really played a lot though. I mean, if you look, most of the time in the fourth quarter, it's the same
group.
guys even in the fourth quarter a lot of times. And I'm like, man, come on.
You know, again, there's a lot of things I'd like to see differently. I'd like to see better tackling. I'd like to see better angles. There was a play earlier that I wanted to reference Malachi Moore on the quarterback. The quarterback run for a touchdown. Malachi Moore just took a horrible angle.
Yeah.
I mean, he took a horrible angle.
Right.
And he's looking at the guy dead on. It's not like, you know, so there are some things I'd like to see us do differently. But at the end of the day, we are starting to play better as a defensive unit. And that starts up front. When they're pressuring the quarterback, makes it easier for the guys in the back. I'm liking what I'm seeing from the linebackers. So more challenges to come.
And I was watching your boy Moody. He had a good game. He made one mistake on one play.
I saw it. Yeah. But I think I think he gives some guys a break. I think he's a really good player.
Oh, he's a great fallback.
Yeah, without a doubt. So let's take a quick break. On behalf of Bob English and State Farm, hold your seats, Tide fans. We'll be right back with Tide Talk.
In life, some things just go together, like a burger and fries, and home and auto insurance from State Farm. So make it a combo. Combining your home and auto insurance could save you time and money. And who doesn't like that? Just call me, Bob English, or any of my experienced hometown team and find out how you could start saving today. It's just another way.
All right, welcome back, Tide fan. You want to bring us in?
No,
You want to bring us in?
I thought it was
You was thinking of last week.
I thought it was last week. I'm sorry. Hey, I got hit.
Still enjoying that moment, weren't you?
I understand.
I dreamed of it.
And rightfully so.
Right.
Rightfully so.
Well, Jimmy's got his glasses out, so no.
Right. Look, we can't talk enough about the defense and how they're starting to come together. I think we agree with that. But man, I got to just shout out to B-Rob. I mean, man, I was personally glad to see him have such a good game. Paid his dues. behind Najee and for 4 years. Now he's a senior, and man, what a great game. A great time to have a great game.
Yeah, welcome back, right?
Yeah. Got to give some credit to the offensive line. Obviously, as we said, Maurice, when we need to get yards,
It's going to the left.
go to the left.
Yeah.
I mean,
Get behind Evan Neal and get you a dose of that.
Lane talked about it enough. He, basically said when they had to, they ran behind Big Boy, who probably is the number 1 draft pick.
The one thing that I noticed in the first drive, we're in the third quarter here, but the one thing I noticed initially was the surge of our offensive line getting push. And then whenever we ran to the left, I just saw Evan Neal and your boy Cohen just
Dominate.
collapse.
Yeah, just absolute domination
What are you
on
going
that
to
side
do?
of the
You
ball.
can't do anything about that.
Talking about B-Rob, how many times do you see an offense take the ball, go straight down the field, using that primary running back, and then he's been in there for several plays, and all of a sudden you get down there at the goal line, and he comes running out, and the old sub gets in, he gets all the glory.
One play for a touchdown.
Yeah, one play for a touchdown. I was glad to see we left him in there to get those extra yards and those touchdowns.
I agree. I
definitely
think
deserved
that it was a testament to his work ethic, just the fact that he's had the season, the career that he's had, waiting his turn, and man, just super proud to see him be able to be on display. With that being said, Jimmy, let's jump into some stats.
Absolutely.
Because I believe that our stats obviously should have improved a little bit over
You
the past
think?
couple of weeks,
Yeah.
especially the penalties portion of that.
I checked it out, so you may be disappointed.
Well,
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah. So, it's funny because, how each week it's from a ranking standpoint, it's gotten a little bit better. Some of these so-called power offenses have slowly started to come back down to earth and to the field. So with that being said, here we go, Tide fans. Offense, we're averaging 45.6 points per game. First in the SEC. We surpassed the Ole Miss Black Bears, I guess what they're called, and third nationally. We were 46.5 last week, but second. But again, we moved up one spot each nationally and in the league. Rushing offense, 163 yards a game. Again, most of that is B-Rob this past week. We moved up from 10th last week to 9th this week overall in the league. 64th nationally, up from 81st. Passing offense. Yeah. Passing offense, again, took a step back because we ran the ball a little bit more. Again, I think we're a little more balanced, but we were averaging 299 a game, which is good for 5th in the league and 21st overall. So we actually did back up a little bit there because we were 4th and 15th, respectively, week before. Overall, though, we're averaging 463 a game, which is good for 26th nationally and 6th in the league. Again, numbers I think we could all live with for sure. Third down conversions, right at 52%, which again I think we could live with that, converting over a little over half of our third downs. For second in the league, 9th overall, which we jumped up both categories there. I want to jump up to the defense. We talked about it. We keep talking about it getting better per game because again, you look at some of those second half scores and kind of those garbage touchdowns. So again, I just don't think that the numbers overall are indicative of how well we're playing there.
the units played, I agree.
Because we're giving up 18.2 points a game, which is only good for 6th in the conference and 28th overall. And it actually went up from the week before, and we dropped down from 5th to 6th. So we lost some space there. Rushing defense, 111 yards a game, which is 6th in the conference, 31st overall. Let's see here. Passing defense, 177. We're tied for 4th in the league and 24th, which again, we moved up a couple of spots there. Total defense, which is what I like seeing, 289 a game, which is 4th in the conference and 17th overall. Third down conversions, we're still only giving up 34% on third down, which to me that's pretty decent. A third of the time you're getting off 2/3 of the time you're getting off the field. So I can live with that. But here's a big one, the penalties. We talked about it had to go up. Well, per game, we improved by 5 yards a game. We went from 78 yards in penalties a game to 73. we're still 119th nationally and 12th in the conference. So we still have to improve on
And we
that.
only had 5 this past weekend.
Right.
Well, one of them was a referee's fault.
Yeah, it was. You talking about the 4th and 10 end of the game?
I'm talking about the substitution where they called us.
Oh yeah.
It's like that was a referee's mistake.
So, yeah. So just real quick, from an individual standpoint, our apparently Heisman Trophy leading candidate, Bryce Young, is 17 touchdowns, 2 picks. Percentage completion is 73% right now, which is ahead of all the past greats that we've talked about in length. He is 4th nationally in passing touchdowns and completion percentage, and he has a 185 passer rating at the moment. Leads the SEC in all those categories. So, and I will say this too. Let me give little Brian Robinson some love before we move on. He is he's 6 touchdowns rushing, is actually leading the league, believe it or not. And in the last shout out,
One game.
and then in the last shout out, because you mentioned Will Anderson earlier about how well he's playing.
I did.
So he has recorded 11 tackles behind the line of scrimmage, which is good for, that leads the league and the country. And interesting enough, the record for tackles behind the line of scrimmage was, I think it was the young kid out of Ohio State. He's one of the top. Yeah. It's like I think it's 21 or 22 behind the line of scrimmage. So Will has definitely got a chance to break that record this year as far as tackles behind the line.
First name basis, is it?
That's right.
Will?
Yeah, Will.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Anyway,
So
there you go,
he knows
Tide fans.
people.
So look, a game that we hoped we would see, we finally did. I think the score was not indicative of the game. They scored late. It was a garbage touchdown. Horrible call by the referee. Was not pass interference. On top of the fact, ball was uncatchable. We won't go into that.
Right.
Well, you just did.
Well, we won't go into any more detail about
Any
that.
more depth? Yeah. Okay. Gotcha.
However, this weekend, Texas A&M. Early on, we thought it was going to be the game
of the year. Right? Yep. Game of the year.
Early on, I still think it's going to be a difficult game. On the road, Kyle Field, tough place to play.
12th man.
Yeah, home of the 12th man. Jimbo Fisher's going to have them ready because they've coming off 2 losses. I'm not saying that we're going to get beat. I'm just saying that I think this game, especially after coming off a big win against Ole Miss, that you always have that fear of a letdown. You always have that fear of getting motivated again, especially knowing that the team's coming off 2 losses. It's kind of
so he's going to have his team ready to play us, but he couldn't get them ready to play the last 2 opponents.
Without a doubt, I think everybody is ready to play us.
He's making fun of you.
I think everybody's ready to play us. I do think it's going to be. I do think it's going to be a good game.
No, you're wrong.
You disagree?
Look, I'm like you. I thought this was going to be the game of the year, but man, they're garbage. Their offense is terrible. We've talked about our defense playing better, and again, our offense is. Look at the stats we just mentioned. Man, I don't think it's going to be close. I could be wrong. I was wrong this past week for the first time. I could be wrong this week, but I don't think it's going to be
I don't
close.
know. He's been to Vegas. He knows things. So,
Can't.
18-point favorite on the road in front of the 3rd largest stadium in the world?
In the world.
Have we ever had a problem playing up there?
Yeah.
No.
When Johnny Manziel was a sophomore, that was it.
Last time I
Yeah,
checked.
Jimmy's right. Their offense is terrible. I mean, they really miss Mond, and I mean they got Spiller, a really fast running back. That's not bad, but it's going to be hard for him to catch fire. I mean, we win easily. I don't know about the 18, but I don't think there'll be a letdown. I think there's some momentum going, and it could be wrong, but it's like I hate saying this, but I got to agree
Like
with
Jimmy
Jimmy.
said.
Yeah.
You got to agree with me.
Well, I disagree with both of you. I think it's going to be a more challenging game.
You think it's your show? You can disagree.
Well,
It does say Sean Taylor on it. So.
it is Tide Talk with Sean
Yes.
Taylor, just so that we can
Speak to
all
my agent
come back
about this.
to earth here. I just think it's going to be a different game. I think it's going to be a more challenging game. I think that listen, we played our tails off against Ole Miss at home. We probably got some bumps and bruises. You know, listen, we hadn't even really talked about it, but Chase McClellan's out for the year.
Right.
Just not that we don't have depth there, but they are now starting to talk about what we potentially will do if somebody else goes down. You still got Trey Sanders. You still got Roydell Williams. You know, of course, B-Rob. But look, going on the road is already difficult in the SEC. I think Jimbo Fisher is a really good football coach. I think he's going to have his team probably a little more prepared than the last couple of games, Jimmy, to be honest, to answer your question. I really do. It's Alabama. It's the number one team in the country.
But didn't you mention the Jimmies and the Joes earlier? I just don't think they got them. I don't care what kind of preparation you have.
Well, I think they do have them. I think they haven't played well. But, you know, as we know, everybody gives us their best shot. Everybody, you know, brings their A game when they play us. Mm-hmm. So I'll be interested to see. I'm thinking that it's going to be a little bit closer game than what you guys may anticipate. But I think we'll win the football game because I do believe the Jimmies and the Joes, we have more depth and I think we're better. But I do think it'll be a little bit more challenging. It'll be interesting to see. It's going to be a good game to watch. It's going to be a fun game to watch. It's going to be a late game.
Night game.
Going to be a night game. So it'll be interesting to see. Predictions. Let's get some scores.
I'm going to say 42-17.
I'm going to say 41-10.
I knew you were going to do that. You always do.
I'm going to say
43?
45-28.
Oh, 28.
28.
I'm going to say 45-28.
That offense scoring 28 points on us. Yep. Good.
Tell me,
I'm not saying just their offense.
Are you counting? Are you adding the points that they scored last year to this year?
No.
Oh, okay. I was just checking.
That's just my prediction.
I got to agree with Jimmy again. 28.
45-28.
Okay.
It's his show. Hey, it's his show.
That's right. It is my show. So, hey, you know what? We'll come back next week and talk about it.
On your show.
Yeah.
Correct. Thanks for pointing that out. So, Tide fans, join us right here next week, Channel 207. We'll talk about and break down the Texas A&M game. Got another game, a good one coming up after that in Mississippi State.
Agreed.
Hey.
It's a back rub.
Yeah, there we go.
Feels good.
So, Tide fans, join us next week right here, 207. Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.